Hi, and welcome to our Town on Weekend Life. I'm Susan Ng. Thank you for joining me today. Vulnerable seniors who either live alone or who may have no families or who may not have families being able to visit them, particularly during the last year and a half when we are or were in the midst of the pandemic and not having people to talk to. This is where virtual befriending comes in handy, where distance friendship becomes important for people to be able to still stay in touch no matter what. But what does it take to be a virtual befriender? What do you need to know? How do you learn what to say to someone you are not able to see? And how often do volunteers keep in touch with vulnerable seniors? We're going to talk about this issue today because over the last year and a half, I think social workers and volunteers and people who work in nursing homes have had to actually turn to virtual befriending in order for the seniors to be able to have a lifeline to the outside world. And we're joined today by Janelle Lee. Janelle is co founder of Bantu. This is a social tech startup, which is also a social enterprise. Janelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, hi, I'm Janelle.
Hi, Janelle. All right, first of all, you've done very well for yourself and starting your business, and you're also a young Singaporean to watch, and so we're listening to you today as we continue to watch the great work that you've done, and you've also done a little bit of virtual befriending yourself, Janelle.
Yes, hi, everyone. Yes, so indeed, we've been very, very lucky to be able to work together with A Seniors
Mm.
on this project to be able to bring virtual befriending to the masses and to introduce this idea. And for myself, we've started to be able to virtually volunteer with seniors in the nursing homes through projects that we run with the JC students as well as polytechnic students in Singapore.
What's it been like, Janelle, to be able to be a virtual friend to someone? What is the one difficulty that most people would face?
I would say it's the lack of confidence that you're able to properly engage with seniors online. I think that for seniors, I think on a normal day to day when we physically
Mm.
volunteer and befriend with seniors, there's already that fear, that we cannot connect with them in the interest that they have. We don't know too much about them, but I think with virtual befriending, the additional layers, the whole tech, how do I use Zoom to connect with
Mm.
people online? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you use Zoom or Skype and you're able to see
hmm
someone, I think that's quite helpful. But if the senior doesn't have a device like that or available technology to them, then having to connect over the phone adds on to this layer of difficulty, doesn't it?
Definitely so. Which is why I think the nursing homes have been doing a really great job
Mm.
in, starting to understand and have awareness that to be able to have that tech capacity is very important. So that begins with, the number of devices they have at the organization, the number of television screens in the halls of the nursing home. And, I think both the volunteers themselves as well as the nursing homes, they're all, trying their best to now pick up new skills, new capabilities, and firstly to have an understanding of what is really needed when you do a virtual befriending program. And now, I think everyone is starting to open up and
Mm.
starting to realize that, we need to bring that essence of volunteering back because the pandemic has clearly not allowed us to be able to physically visit the residents who are living in one room flats or even in this case for nursing homes. Yes.
Yeah, volunteers are in short supply as well for many
yeah.
charities, as I have been told. So it
Yes.
is
Yes.
this whole challenge of wanting to balance the two. Janelle, I do
hmm
understand we must have a safety management measures in place. We do need to keep to the numbers that we're supposed to be keeping to, and yet not lose touch with the seniors. Doesn't matter where they're living, whether they're in your family even,
hmm
and some
Yes,
people
that's right.
have not been able to see their children and grandchildren and great grandchildren in a huge entire family group for
Yes.
quite a long time now. And as I said to my previous guest,
Mhm.
absence makes the heart grow fonder, but long absence makes the heart forget. And I think we don't want people to forget, particularly senior people who may not have any other lifeline to what we call the real world. Someone
Yes,
else
that's
who
right.
has spent some time being a virtual volunteer is Angela Wong. She is an honorary treasurer of the Singapore Women's Association. Angela, thank you so much for making time
Hi.
today.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Angela,
Yeah.
you're a fantastic volunteer. You volunteer with the SWA, you're a virtual befriender. You're also a volunteer with ACE Seniors, another social enterprise.
Yeah. We have a team.
Mm.
We conduct our regular laughter yoga section with the senior via Zoom. And then with me, we have a team like our leaders like Faith Ang and Fang Fang.
Mm.
We do bilingual laughter yoga section weekly.
I love that.
And then we need to do bigger event like the Chinese New Year celebration
Yeah.
or National Day celebration.
Yeah.
Will involve more volunteers because we need a team of volunteer singers, dancers, and game master for virtual befriending.
What's it been like for you, though, Angela, being a virtual volunteer? It can't be easy. I mean, I noticed that you're also a part of the ACEs, the ACE Seniors, a National Day Parade planning committee, which means you bring the National Day parades into the nursing homes so that seniors who live in nursing homes and who aren't able to leave the homes can also enjoy the NDP, right? In
Yes.
the past, you were able to bring all your volunteers and you would go to the nursing home and hold
Yes.
parties for them.
We're looking forward every year.
Correct. But what's it been like during the pandemic? You haven't been able to do that in such a large number, and you certainly are not going to be able to bring huge groups of volunteers into the nursing home.
Yeah, so the challenge, it started from last year, August. We know that we cannot do physical programming.
Yeah.
But our heart is with the seniors, say we still need to do.
Yeah.
So it's the first time we're trying. So we gather our committee to think what we can do. But we work with ACE, they still provide the food and the cake to the home when we do virtual programming. So wherever it takes is everybody come together. So the seniors still can experience the joy. We broadcast the National Day anthem, we bring games, and some are volunteers who sing songs. We have our regular singer. Last time they did very good singing at the hall with the Renqi Hospital. But this round, even with the virtual, as you all mentioned, everybody is trying to learn. We are not perfect, but I think we have to make a start.
You know what? I don't think people need to be perfect. So long as what you're doing comes from the heart, I think that matters the most. And for the seniors, I'm sure they welcome you, even though it's virtual and even though they're watching the screen. Either it's you guys singing and dancing or whether it is the parade on the screen. I think the thought is important, isn't it, Angela? It's the thought that counts. And so, Janelle, as we're speaking here, it seems more and more that not only do seniors who live alone and seniors who live in nursing homes and the nursing homes themselves, they really do need to keep up with technology. When we come back from the break, that's what we'll have a chat about. I'm chatting today with Janelle Lee and Angela Wong. They're both virtual befrienders reaching out to seniors who live alone or who are in nursing homes and unable to be with friends and family at this time, or who may not have friends and family to visit them. There are challenges, aren't there, Janelle? You spoke about this earlier, that nursing homes and I suppose all homes and all institutions do need to look at the tech capacity and how they need to upscale and also upskill their people in order to cope with the new normal. Janelle.
Hi, so yes, that's right. In fact, when we train the staff, the nursing home staff, to be able to kickstart their virtual befriending programs, one of the very key questions we will get the volunteers as well as the staff to take note is like how many television screens do you have? How many of your staff knows how to use Zoom properly? How many of your staff knows certain tips and tricks to be able to use Zoom in the most effective manner, like the whiteboard features, the polling features, if that's something that they are interested in. And most importantly, the number of devices that the organization wants to invest in to be able to deliver the virtual befriending program to whether it's a one-on-one basis, so that's like one befriender to one befriendee, or is that more of like the one volunteer to maybe 10 seniors, for example?
Virtual engagement isn't easy, Janelle. I mean,
yes,
and I'm speaking for myself too, and me and my colleagues over the 1.5 years that we've not been able to see our guests face to face. We've also had to learn how to, in the past we used to say, watch the body language, right, of your
yes,
guests.
That's right.
Now
yes,
I have to
right.
listen to the language that my guests are using to understand and to read between the lines of what they're actually saying to us. So engagement, virtual and otherwise, needs to be learned. But this is the new normal. This is what you will have to go through as a social enterprise, as a social tech startup, helping nursing homes and other groups to be able to continue their work.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and for Angela, who is a volunteer herself, to be able to reach out either through the Singapore Women's Association or through ACE Seniors or through Bantu, how to be able to do this. What is the first thing you would say, Janelle? We'll talk about your training a little bit later, but what would be the first thing that you would tell someone if they had to talk to a person they had never met, and that first chat is a virtual one?
So if we are talking about maybe a call,
let's say it's a phone call,
one of video conferencing software, like a call. Okay, so the first thing I always say is to remember to introduce yourself. As simple as it sounds, most of the time, the befrienders get a bit scared, like, I'm so scared to start talking to the senior. So, they tend to prepare a very nice program, and they forget that actually the most important thing is the senior wants to get to know you, and know your stories, know you as a person, and the senior doesn't just want to be asked questions all the time, but in fact, it's always that process of self-disclosure that keeps that relationship going and in fact starting. So being able to share, what your likes and dislikes are as a person. And, it's very important to share something that, if depending on your age, if someone who is in the younger age group, talks to a senior, the senior always sees the volunteer as like their child, their grandchild. And being able to share, some of their grandfather stories, their grandma stories, and, to try to create that connection with the senior always starts off really well. So, being able to find relevance in the topics that you talk about with the senior is very important. And most importantly, being able to connect with the senior through, speaking very calmly over the phone, being very empathetic. And there's this technique that we do called active listening, which I'm sure that Susan yourself will be very familiar. So that's there are many communication tactics that we emphasize a lot as we guide the volunteers to be able to do virtual befriending, because like you said, the communication portion has really changed.
Yeah.
One of the key things I always share is that, in a normal conversation, 55% of our communication actually comes from body language. And, during the whole Zoom, connecting with people over the phone, whether seeing their face or not, our words and our voice becomes very important.
Yeah.
The word choices, as well as the way that we say it, delivers that energy, as well as that empathy and that kindness that you want to bring through just by your voice alone. So those are definitely some changes that the volunteers have had to intentionally learn.
Yeah, you know what, and Janelle, you would think that we would know this. The phone has been in use since, I don't know when, right? And you would think that we would be able to do this quite well, but it is quite difficult. I mean, Angela, the Singapore Women's Association is really active on the ground over the last year and a half. You too have had to actually take quite a lot of your programs either online or virtually. What would be the biggest challenge that you've had as a volunteer in trying to roll out some of your programs at the Singapore Women's Association?
I think the biggest challenge is to deliver programs that really meet the needs of the senior. That means we need to understand what they need, as what in Janelle's training program,
Yeah.
the program must be stimulating. Means,
Yeah.
and I know that when I do the program, let's say laughter yoga with the senior who are on wheelchairs, at first our dance program is the whole body. We have to modify it to only the limb movement. And then when we do more clapping hand, we ask them to raise the hand. Means it would be better if I can be physically with them. But when I cannot, we do more our action. We use our voice to ask them join me. Means we have to, because I cannot hold the hand. When I'm with them, I can say hold the hand. But when we cannot, we have to be, we ourselves have to be very energetic to say, let's come together, clap hands, warm up exercise, join us. And then after that, we say, Uncle, you did very well. You join us. So we have to really imagine we are with them and bring the joy to them. We ourselves need a lot of energy.
Absolutely. And I think you need triple the energy that you would normally need if you were to be facing somebody, right? You've got to work that much harder to make even that first connection. And of course, the loss of physical touch with the people that you're with, particularly seniors, I think that becomes something quite difficult to overcome. When we come back from the news break, we'll find out more about the virtual befriending workshops, the free workshops that are being run, and how you, if you want to, can sign up for one of these workshops with Janelle being the trainer. We'll come back and talk more with Janelle Lee and Angela Wong in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Our Town on Weekend Life. I'm Susan Ng. Thank you for your company today. I'm talking today with Janelle Lee. Janelle is co-founder of Bantu. They're a social tech startup, a social enterprise, and Janelle herself is also a volunteer and has taken part in what we're talking about today, which is virtual befriending of vulnerable seniors. Angela Wong is my second guest, and Angela is, a volunteer herself and volunteers with several organizations, is herself a virtual befriender. She is an honorary treasurer of the Singapore Women's Association and a super volunteer with ACE Seniors NDP Planning Committee. And, Angela and Janelle, you ladies both have had experiences with volunteers, seniors, and as we have noted earlier, there are challenges, and I think these challenges will continue to plague us. However, as long as your heart's in the right place, I think that is what matters. Truly, Janelle and Angela, I do believe that. And, even the best of us will have challenges dealing with tech issues sometimes, and it's difficult to overcome. And as we're speaking, if you have comments, if you have stories to share, if you want to talk to us, you can. 669-11938 to call us, 963-11938 to send us a WhatsApp message. And here's a message from someone I know who's also a volunteer, Wendy Con. Wendy, as we were talking about challenges, Wendy says another challenge she has is when phones get disconnected. And when the seniors that she is talking to on the phone, they're actually quite deaf. And and that is a challenge. And when she needs to talk to seniors, particularly during circuit breaker, this becomes an issue. She says she gets quite tired after a phone call because she keeps on needing to repeat herself so that seniors, number one, will understand what she's trying to say to them, and also to get an answer from them so that they can not just connect, but so that they can move on from there. And so this brings me to the topic of the training that you're running. Wendy, thank you so much for your comments. And training needs to be run, and you've been running this already, hand in hand with ACE Seniors, to run a project to benefit nursing homes. But you've also worked with students, as I understand. Let's start there. Working with young people to help them to be virtual befrienders.
So I think that's a great question. In fact, I would say that the young people themselves have much better understanding of the same kind of loneliness that the seniors feel in the nursing homes. In fact, there's this overseas studies that say that people who are under the age of 18, they actually face the same kind of loneliness that people in the nursing homes as well as seniors face. And I try to use that as the way to have the younger students, like the people in the JCs and the polys, to really understand that actually, you're not in that different place as them, and with that same empathy of the idea of loneliness, they're able to better connect with the seniors.
I do like that, and I never thought of it that way. Young people actually have the same loneliness as senior people, I guess, particularly during the pandemic.
That's right.
Yeah, because, you know what young people are like, right? You can't get together with your friends. And even now you're quite restricted to a group of 5. You have to be properly distanced, and you can only eat with one other person if you decide to go out to eat. So yes, there is that same loneliness. Yeah. And that's a great way to start your training. And what has been the reaction from the young people, the youth?
I think for the youth themselves, they have a lot of heart for the social sector, whether it's the seniors or any kind of other causes. I think usually, what they lack is that confidence to say that, yes, I'm gonna do something that's actually meaningful. And I think my role as a trainer for this virtual befriending program is really to instill that confidence in them. In terms of the technical skills, whether it's using Zoom, using any of these online games to be able to facilitate the sessions. That's definitely their expertise and their forte. So for the youth themselves, my role is really to guide them in the areas of empathy, listening, so that they're able to really deliver that program, that heart that they have, in the best way, because most of the time they don't have that experience and confidence to be able to carry out the program. So I guess with different groups of people that I train, they usually have something like a gap that they're trying to fill. And if I'm able to find that gap, that's when, the training becomes effective for that group of individuals.
Have any of these students actually started?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So talk to me about the experience that they may have had trying to connect with the seniors.
Right. So I can share one example. I think we had a group of Singapore Poly students, when they went to one of the nursing homes to conduct the program that they carefully planned out with lots of enthusiasm. And what they realized was that the seniors, they were doing like an art and craft activity. And with an art and craft activity, it's usually, a few volunteers in the room, trying to teach many seniors sitting in the same hall how to, fold something like origami, something simple.
Okay.
What they did not expect was that they really wanted to have that interaction with the seniors, which means like, get their response, how is it, and get to interact with them. But with the whole virtual portion, right? If you want to do an activity like arts and craft, it is most probable that the level of interaction is very low. And being able to set that expectation for the volunteer who's going in as the young people, they need to know that, there are various types of different virtual volunteering activities, and its interactive levels would change depending on what type of activity you choose to run. So, as for myself, we try to give advice once they've actually done their first session. Usually they feel quite dejected, like, the seniors, like, no one's listening to me, no one's responding, what do I do? And sometimes we also find that if the student group doesn't have someone that, is particularly extroverted or has a certain charm, that can really pose to be a challenge. So in fact, within the volunteer group itself, we usually tell the volunteers that it's very important to see like, who are the volunteers? What are the characters like? Is there someone in the group that's like particularly personable? I think we had that one example where this student just picked up the mic and just decided to sing some songs because their volunteering activity wasn't going so well.
Yeah.
And that worked.
Oh, wow. Okay, so a volunteer mix, the right mix becomes important. Right. It's almost like going out as a group, right? You need different types of personalities in the group. We can't all be extroverts because then it would just be one big noise and no one's listening to anybody. You can't have all introverts either because then no one's talking and no one's doing anything. And so when we come back from the break, I want to hear Angela. Angela, you went through training, didn't you, with Janelle, and you've also gone through the workshops. So we want to have your feedback and also your comments on what you've learned from the workshop with Janelle. Stay with us. You can continue to talk to us at 963-11938. Thank you for staying with us here on Our Town. Janelle Lee and Angela Wong are with me today. Janelle is co-founder of Bantu. They're a social enterprise and a social tech startup and involved in doing some training, virtual befriending training for students as well as for staff of nursing homes. And you too can sign up for these trainings. Angela, we have people who are interested, our listeners, for example, who might want to sign up for this training. What would be the basic skill they would need, or can anyone just sign up?
I believe anybody who has a heart to do virtual befriending can join. And the training is very useful. It provides the guiding principle of activity based on cognitive stimulation therapy.
Yeah.
And I think the importance, as what Janelle has mentioned, is they start with to emphasize the need of the senior, the loneliness or the social isolation. So with the purpose in mind, we join the training and then we learn some practical skills. And there are discussions so that it's not only learning the theory, we can discuss and talk about what are the issues we face. And then we hope we could attend the training earlier. As I mentioned, we start the program last year.
Yeah.
And we have to do our own research, do our research internet because we have to start. We cannot wait. So we go to the internet and see how people do, and then we modify some of the things. And another important thing is we have received feedback from the staff. Let's say we work with the nursing home, we'll ask them, each time we finish our program, we ask them their feedback. And then we fine-tune along the way, and then we make changes to make sure our program is acceptable or welcomed by the senior.
Yeah, understanding what seniors need, as we've heard, becomes very important. Angela, you've been a volunteer for quite a long time now, and you volunteered with the Singapore Women's Association, with ACES, and now you're into virtual befriending. What is the one major difference, aside from the fact that you aren't able to physically be with people now that you're having to do virtual befriending?
The differences between
virtual befriending. Yeah, that's right. The major difference that you've had to undergo, aside from doing this training that you've gone through, and aside from the fact that you can't see people, what is the biggest challenge you might have?
You have to first, we need to learn the technical skill. At first, we don't have the confidence in using all this technology, but now we are using it. Once you start using it, you learn on the way, and your confidence will grow. Most important, you must start doing it. Once you start, you can ask people. The help is on the way, and you can learn and improve.
Yeah, so technology is the thing, Janelle. Technology is the key to so many things. And I know I've spoken with quite a number of people over the last year and a half, even for families and for seniors and for organizations and nursing homes and healthcare institutions. The main thing was technology. But once they've been able to overcome that, learn some of that, and also encourage seniors to learn this, many of them have actually taken to technology like a fish to water. Grandmas and grandpas have been able to Zoom chat and FaceTime chat with their grandchildren across continents even, Janelle.
Yes, that's exactly right. I think that technology is something that is a blur to especially people who may not have used it in the past. And then I think that for us at Bantu, I think our mission from the very first day has always been to bring that technological capability into the social sector, and to help the whole social sector as well as volunteers to become more efficient in the way that they do good. And I think through this partnership with ACE Seniors, I think we have really been able to bring new knowledge capacity to the volunteers themselves, especially for this training. And that's something that we're very, very proud to be able to do.
I mean, Janelle, you are a social tech startup. And was it in 2019 that you received some funding through the President's Challenge in order for you to be able to to do what you do and to do it better, and
Yes.
also to improve on your innovation. I mean, really, it's about an innovation to improve engagement and also volunteer retention. You know, that becomes very important, particularly during the pandemic when people aren't able to volunteer with you the traditional way. I mean, Angela's fabulous. You know, she's learned all the tech skills so that she can continue to volunteer. But there are those who will fall out of volunteering, fall by the wayside because they aren't able to do that. Why did you, as Bantu, with you and your other co-founders and staff, why did you decide to do what you're doing now and partner with ACES to run this project?
Well, that's a really reflective question for myself. I think when we first started Bantu, like in 2018, I think we really wanted to see how we can use our skill sets, you know, as, university graduates, you know, what were other paths that we could take in order to really build a meaningful career. And one of the big things that we saw was that the social sector is really underserved. Whether that's through the charities or through the volunteering landscape, everyone is trying to do good. However, not everyone is doing it in the most efficient manner. And one of the big things that we found during COVID-19, you know, every crisis has its opportunity. And we realized that there's a very big gap with the use of IT. And now, you know, it's kind of like forced upon everyone, whether or not you like it or not, whether or not you knew how to do it. Even for people, for volunteers like Angela, who has, she was a wonderful person, a wonderful someone who came through my training. So, you know, I'm really glad to be hearing that she's putting all these things in good use. The thing that was really lacking is basically the skills portion, the ability to use IT and understand that it's meant to be a tool and to use that to create even more good. And, you know, I think that's really why Bantu decided to work with ACE Seniors because, you know, ACE Seniors has, you know, all the understanding of the social sector, all these people who need help. And by connecting these volunteers with us, we're able to translate these new tech skills and new empathy and communication skills to the volunteers as well as the staff of the nursing home.
So ACE Seniors is also running a project that's funded by MCCY to increase volunteer capacity and capabilities for 7 partnering nursing homes. And I also understand that going forward, there will be other groups and other nursing homes coming on board and other non-profits as well.
So cool.
And so, you know, as volunteers who are moving into the new normal, Angela and Janelle, you know, you two, it's going to stay this way for some time. I know you're looking forward to the day, both of you, to be able to again feel the touch of someone that you are volunteering with and that you're trying to reach out to. But until the day comes, this is the new normal. This is what is going to happen. Even your training is a virtual one, isn't it, Janelle?
Yep. And I think through the training itself, it's very important for me to be an example of, you know, how you can do that virtual engagement online. So from the very beginning of the class, you know, I'm very, very conscious and intentionally doing certain techniques and tricks to be able to present myself and get everyone in the training engaged. And, you know, and to see Angela smiling throughout the class and, you know, nodding her head to share that, you know, wow, the training is something interesting. I think that's what brings joy to the work that I do as well. So, you know, being able to listen to all the different problems that they currently face with their virtual befriending programs and seeing, you know, what would be the best way, you know, as a young person myself, to be able to help and make the programs more effective and ultimately better for the beneficiaries. I think that's really something that has become very fulfilling for myself.
And I would say that, Angela and Janelle, as much as you are giving of your time, your expertise, and also your love towards seniors who might be living alone, who might not be able to connect with friends and families during this very difficult time that we are all going through, as much as you're giving, you're also receiving. What is the biggest lesson you've learned, Angela, when you've been able to reach out, even virtually, to the seniors?
It was very fulfilling when I heard from the staff that the volunteers are looking forward to our weekly program.
Yeah.
Because every Wednesday we conduct the laughter yoga, and the senior will come earlier and then wait for us, and when we start, they follow our action. I really feel the joy when they really are able to follow our action and they enjoy the exercise we do with them.
Feeling the joy is through the airwaves. That's amazing. And I many times I can feel the joy. I can feel the enthusiasm of my guests, even though I talk to you, via Zoom and you on the phone, that you have so much passion for the work you do. And I think that's fabulous. And Janelle, as you say, as a young person yourself, working in the sector that reaches out to older persons, what is your biggest takeaway from volunteering?
I think for myself, I think that there's really so much more that I can do. I realize that the more that I try to contribute, the more I realize that, there's so much more everyone can contribute towards. And, I am just one of that individuals that have chosen to take this path. And I think right now I always want to encourage, all the younger people to be able to think about what a meaningful career is like. And perhaps that is one that serves the social sector. Not necessarily you must work for a charity, but what you can do as an individual to empower the social sector in your own way.
Well said, Janelle. In your own way, each one of us can make a difference. Each one of us can be the difference. And I think whatever it is, it starts with me, isn't it? We talk about change, we talk about kindness and trust and integrity. If it can only start with me, with one person, and that becomes that ripple effect that we very often talk about. If you want to be a part of the workshop, if you want to sign up for the free workshop that's run by Janelle and her colleagues at Bantu, which is a social enterprise, you can go to the CNA938 Facebook page. We've actually provided a link for this particular workshop too, so you can learn the skills of virtual befriending. And there are volunteering opportunities as well with the Singapore Women's Association and with ACE Seniors. We've tagged them on our Facebook page as well. Janelle and Angela, I want to thank you very much for making time to talk to me today and for sharing.
Thank you, Susan.
Yes, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, and for sharing your experience with us. Virtual befriending for vulnerable seniors. Reach out a hand, a voice to someone who you know might be lonely at this time. If you want to learn how, then you can visit our Facebook page and perhaps sign up for this workshop that's run by Janelle. Learn the skills of how to do that. But you know what? Just reach out your hand or reach out your voice and make that first phone call anyway. I'm Susan Ng. This has been Our Town. Thank you for your company. Hi, and welcome to Our Town on Weekend Life. I'm Susan Ng. Thank you for joining me today. Vulnerable seniors who either